this is one of the most important pieces, is to gather all this information, start to hear from you about your community so that we can distill it into a more focused discussion. So we're doing this between July 22nd and August 21st. We're giving rough time slots here from 9 to 11 a.m., 1 to 3 p.m., and 3 to 5 p.m., just so that we can be organized on our side. So if any of those slots look better for you than others, let us know, and we're going to be working with you and your jurisdictional team members to set up a date and time to do that interview. Before your jurisdictional interview, please review that survey that I sent out on Friday, and we'd like you to consider the following things in regards to your jurisdiction. First and foremost, the natural hazards that affect your community. We are focusing on natural hazards, but feel free to offer any other hazards that you are concerned with, and we will talk about those as well. The website is set up around natural hazards, so most of what we are going to be focusing on are those natural hazards. But again, I know COVID is very high on a lot of people's lists right now of hazards of concern, and there may be other ones that are very important to your community that we should talk about. We'd also like you to consider all vulnerable assets, so buildings, roads, natural assets, vulnerable populations in your community, folks that are elderly, may not have the same ability to respond to disaster or a state of emergency, etc. Likewise, where there's children under the age of 5, or people in poverty may not have the same capacity to respond to an emergency. And so we ask that you consider where some of your most vulnerable populations are as well, and we will be collecting information from you about that. We're also going to ask you about recent and future development, specifically thinking about recent and future development in hazard-prone areas, flood areas, etc. I know that Sullivan County has some recent development that might cause some other kinds of issues with, like landslides potentially, etc. Or at least that's what I've heard from some folks that I've spoken with. So just consider where recent or future development is potentially to increase natural hazard vulnerability. Also, think about your critical infrastructure. We have a full collection of what we know to be your critical infrastructure based on a number of data sets. It most likely is not a complete picture, and we are hoping that you will take a look at that list and provide us with things that we have missed. We have the ability to label any asset in your community as a critical infrastructure, and then start actions based on that. So start strategies to make sure that they are not vulnerable to natural hazards. And then we're also asking you to collect any and all government and local organization resources that may be useful in a time of crisis or are used in mitigation planning. So there's a number of different capabilities that we've identified. We'll introduce you to that as well. Those capabilities are identified as things that most communities probably have. Not all communities have every one of them, but they've been identified as useful in mitigation planning, and we're going to be looking to see if your communities have them, and then what your understanding of your capacity as a community is in regards to those things. So as you go through this jurisdictional survey in preparation for your interview, we're asking that you fill out the sections that are labeled green and do your best to read all of the information in it. It really does provide a great context for why we're doing what we're doing in hazard mitigation planning, and why the pieces of information are important to collect here.